Hey, what's up? It's Brian. I am here. I am back on Street Fight. I am, took a week off last week. It was, let me tell you something. I promised on the Basement Show with Amber this week that I would talk a little bit about that I would talk a tiny bit about my vacation, which it's one of those things that's really weird when you do the kind of job that I do, where you want to be honest with the listeners, and I want to be honest with all of you, but I also people in my family. I don't want to hurt their feelings. You know what I mean? And I love my brother and my sister dearly. And there is in no possible way is this a reflection on my brother and sister. But I went on vacation to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Not my choice, but I sort of made the decision that I've been on the road plenty. I have seen enough cities. I have Jason, you can mute yourself. I can hear you. Oh, it was distracting. Sorry, everybody. You can't hear him. I could hear him. So they go, let's go to fucking Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And I'm like, it is not near Gallatin. Yeah, right. Y'all right, dude said, is that close to Gallatin? If it was close to Gallatin, I wouldn't be about to say what I'm about to say. Because I've been hanging out with, friends that I really like. Mike and JF. JF on Shocktober last week with Tom Likas. Mike on Shocktober this week with Talking Bob and Tom. I love those guys. And I would drive down there and have fun hanging out with those guys. It would be great. But no, my family, they like this place. They like Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I went a year ago. During COVID, we didn't do anything. We kind of were out running around, or not. We were kind of hiking, but hanging out in the hotel because it was still a little squirrely with COVID and stuff like that. We didn't want to, risk anything, and it was just, we just went out there and we spent time in what I perceived to be nature. I got there, I found it to be an incredibly beautiful place. And I was just like, all right, so yeah, let's go. I've been to most major cities in the United States, right? I've been to New York. I've been to, there used to be this thing with me when it came to going on vacation. I didn't want to fucking go to some tourist place because, I'd been to Hilton Head and the Outer Banks 6 times, but not New York or fucking anywhere in Texas or LA or fucking Oklahoma City or anywhere in Florida or Atlanta. You know what I mean? I'd never been to these places that were incredible, or that were bigger cities that, you hear people talk about and stuff like that. I mean, just places I had wanted to see. I said, I'll never go to another tourist place again until I've seen enough of the country that I'm satisfied. Well, I felt as though I was extremely satisfied, I liked Oklahoma City. I liked Texas and I love Los Angeles and Seattle and Portland. I love it. I love the country. I love, the actual physical world, not the United States of America. So I have let my guard down and recently decided, okay, I'm gonna go on a family vacation. My family wants to go to this place, this Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I'll go. You know what I mean? Let's do it. Let's fucking do it. Let's be a good brother. This is a place that they love. This is a place I've never been. Let's go. So I jump in my car, drive there, spend the first night there, and I'm like, I go to Publix, first of all, which Publix, hey, top tier store. If you don't have a Publix in your area, that's too bad. I fucking love Publix. I have been a booster of their subs are incredible. I wish I could get Publix in Ohio. Their subs. Maybe I'll have somebody mail me some or something like that. Or I'll just make my own sandwiches. I'm pretty good at that too. So we stop at the Publix. We get there. We spend the night hanging out. I bought a special Lego set to do while I was on vacation, which is, you know, that's a nice little thing for me. I'll just sit here and do the Lego shit and play around with the Legos that I had, the vacation Legos. And it's pretty nice. The next day, my daughter. Okay, so the next day we get there. The next day we were there. We just hang out at the cabin, and it was great. You know, I'm playing with my vacation Legos again. The wife is smoking a joint. Everybody's like having just a great time. You know, everybody's just having a great day, just hanging around the house. Okay, so here we go. Next thing happens. The following day, my daughter had told us on the drive down there, she is 18 years old, senior in high school. This could be the last vacation as a kid that she takes with us. Obviously, we'll take her wherever, on any vacation that we would do. So we finally are like, she's like, I want to ride a four-wheeler, a quad. And they have quads here that you can ride. You can rent for an exorbitant amount of money. The shitty thing is, all the guys I grew up with when I was younger have quads, and I could probably ride them for free. I just have to hear them say racist stuff for an hour or something. But I decided to pay for it. That was $260, which is the craziest amount of money for a 40-minute four-wheeler ride, but we did it. I was scared the entire fucking time. I can't describe to you how scared I was on those four-wheelers, and I'm going to tell you why. My wife and daughter are driving behind me. I'm in the front. My credit card is on file. If anything happens, I have to pay for the fucking four-wheeler. Now, look, if I could afford one, I'd fucking have one. Not true, actually. If I could afford one, I'd probably buy something different with that money. But if I could afford one, I'd fucking have one. So I jump into I get on the thing. I'm driving. I'm a little nervous. A little bit nervous when I'm driving because, the thing slides around and shit like that. Or a few times I almost drove off the road. I'm driving this fucking thing. I'm nervous about me driving the fucking thing, but the only thing I can fucking think about is that my wife and daughter are behind me. If they wreck the fucking thing, I gotta pay for it. So that was crazy. I was so nervous the whole time. I really thought that one of us was just gonna wreck the fucking four-wheeler into the other one. So that was fine. But then here's where it happens. Here's where that classic Brian situation happens. We decide, let's go to a place. It's called the Island. Now, they said it was a place for shopping and there was an arcade. So we go to this thing thinking, oh, it's a place for shopping. But much like the last place we went to, it's not really a place for shopping. It is a place to buy anti-Biden t-shirts and grunt style t-shirts and stuff like that. It is just a place to go to buy the absolute grossest t-shirts you can find. And just a bunch of junk. It's just a bunch of fucking junk merchants selling a bunch of fucking junk. And we spend our day walking around there, and then we're like, well, let's go to the other place. That was Pigeon Forge. So we go to the other place, Gatlinburg. That's supposed to be a place for shopping. I can't tell you. I cannot tell you how bad this place was. And I just there's no good food there at all. I fucking looked. I looked so hard for good food, because here's something that I was thinking about was like, well, if this is a big tourist spot, much like a cruise ship, I assume some of our nation's finest chefs are going to fucking be there. Like some of our nation's chefs are going to decide like, well, this is a fucking place where I can make some money. I'll have a chef store or restaurant. They actually call them restaurants, not chef scores. So I was like, so I'm like, you know what? No restaurants. So no good restaurants. We went to the highest rated restaurant on that street, and it was like frozen pizza, basically. So first that day, we were all like, this is like Times Square, but worse, because Times Square has actual fucking stores you can buy shit at, Like Times Square sucks. It's a sucky place. But there's a fucking, there's a fucking finish line there. You can go look at shoes and stuff. I know I'm not supposed to be buying shoes on vacation. But that's when I'm loose with my money. So that would have been the time to do it. I'm telling you, dude, the Joe and the Ho Gotta Go t-shirts were just everywhere. A crazy amount of those t-shirts there. And Trump spelled with guns, flags, stuff like that. It was just like some of that kind of stuff in every store after store after store, unless it was a store that sold what they called ninja weapons, martial arts weapons, which was like nunchucks and stuff like that, which that almost got me. I gotta tell you the truth. I almost bought a few weapons that I thought might be illegal in Ohio. So I didn't buy them, but I came real fucking close to buying some pretty wild weapons, which would have been fun. No QAnon merch, Patrick CMCD. There was nothing specifically Q, but it was all stuff that was like Make America Great Again, and I identified as non-Binary, I think is how you would pronounce that word. All kinds of shit. It was just so much, and it was every store. We went out to eat, and it was like one of the days for breakfast, and like all these places sell pancakes. I can't figure out why. My wife said they invented pancakes there, but I think she was just fucking with me about them. And like, I don't think they invented pancakes in Tennessee. I think pancakes had to have been invented before, we would start settling here. So, we ate some pancakes. Those pancakes were good, but again, I can make pancakes. Not hard. Not a hard thing to make. It's pretty easy, in the biggest restaurant I've been in 20 years. Easily the biggest restaurant I've been in 20 years. Because I won't eat in a big restaurant. I will not go to the Cheesecake Factory because it looks like a fucking warehouse. I can't do it. I have to eat in a small restaurant. It just doesn't feel right to be in a big one to me. That's not kind of food I eat. And it's not like that home style American stuff that's like really, really boring food. So I'll just say this. Me and my wife and daughter looked at each other about 2 days into this vacation in Gatlinburg, and we go like this. Well, this is more of a one and done place. I don't think we're going back to Gatlinburg ever again. I can't. There was nothing there, everybody. And it's sad because it's fucking right in the middle of the fucking one of the most beautiful wonders, the Smoky Mountains, within driving distance of me. This beautiful fucking place, and they just dumped Myrtle Beach there. It's like, fuck. We gotta stop letting them do that. You know? Like, I want to stop letting them decide that, like, our nation's beautiful wonders, I want to start saying, like, you're not allowed to fucking do this anymore. Okay? It's just, we're not allowing you to build tourist traps on the coast or in the mountains. You can put them somewhere that sucks. Like, put it anywhere. It's just the worst fucking shit. Let's take some calls. I'm going to take some calls now. See, I got mad now. And now I'm fucking yelling. Now I got to answer the phones. Well, hello. Who am I talking to tonight?
Hey, you're talking to Hank. It's me.
What's up, Hank? Did you miss me last week? Were you on hold waiting for me?
Yes. And I knew you weren't going to be there, but I just lost to just feel it for a moment. Even in your absence, the ache for your presence is enough to satisfy the longings of the 1,000 horses of passion that live inside my heart.
I almost did it. I almost did the show. I got home at like 6:45, but I had told Jason the day before I wouldn't be able to. It's a 6-hour drive, which is interesting because it's like, that's not too far. And we had to be out of the Airbnb by 10, that's ridiculous. That is fucking ridiculous time to make people get up and get out of a place that are on vacation. Oh, I'm so mad about that too. Oh, I am not doing Airbnb anymore. I have been completely taken off the Airbnb train at this point. I go if I have to with other people, but I'm a hotel guy. I'm a 4-star hotel guy, maybe 3.5, but mostly 4-star hotel guy. That's where I stay. But yeah, we had to be out by 10, so I figured I'd be home at like 5, but I stop a lot.
That's a long day, man.
Yeah, and I stop a lot. So
you had to go home and fucking go to work. So no, you made the right call not doing the show.
Yeah, I stop a lot on my drive though, so I would have been cutting it too close, probably, to actually do it.
That would be tough.
How you doing, Hank?
And
yeah,
I'm doing good. Just tell the audience what Gatlinburg is. I've driven through it 20-something years ago on a hiking trip to the Smoky Mountains. So I didn't really. I think we ate there, but I don't have a good memory of it. It's kind of like do they have gambling? Do they do shows? And I know that they sell really fashionable clothing, but what else? Like, it's sort of like is it bigger than Branson, Missouri? Give us a little sense for what Gatlinburg is, because I'm sure our New Zealand friends might not know what it is.
So no gambling, because that was something we thought about doing. Go to fucking casino. My daughter's 18 now, which I found out she can't gamble anyway, so doesn't matter. But we had thought about it, but the casino's an hour away, hour and a half away. There are shows, but they're like dinner theaters more than shows. It's like Dolly Parton's Western Stampede, which, by the way, there ain't no motherfucking way I'm going to go eat where there's horses. And I know that precludes medieval time, which I said I wanted to go to, but I didn't think about the fact that there are horses where I'd be eating. I don't want to eat around horses. I'm not a fucking cowboy by the chuck wagon.
You mean in sight of horses, or just like knowing there's horses on the block somewhere nearby? Like, what's the proximity? I would be okay with, like, I need at least 5 feet away from horses for me before I'm comfortable, because that's about double the length of like the bottom of their leg. Horses are
horses
terrifying.
just
They're fucking
galloping, just horse. Well, I ain't worried about them. You know, like they're not gonna do anything to me. It's just I don't, I don't want a fucking
But
horse
what's
galloping through where my fucking whatever you eat there. I don't know what they would have there, and it's not. I'm not anti-horse psychic gasoline. People just this is crazy. I just don't want to eat by a fucking horse with their horse stuff. You know what I'm saying?
yeah?
Like I hate. I don't. They shit. The horse is gonna shit there. The horse. Here's the thing. I'm sure the horse has mites. That's just there you go. Fucking mites. And there you go. Skelly Tom said, I ate at the Excalibur in Vegas and they were kicking dust into the air and food. That's why I don't want to eat around fucking horses. Why can't you do like a Western thing where like I guess it's hard to do a Western thing without horses. I just was thinking like a shootout. Like a nice shootout.
Yeah,
Maybe have like what was that?
we could do like sleeping horses or dead horses. Like that would be fine.
I don't think you want dead horses, but I think you could have like animatronic horses. Like you could do a shootout stage dinner theater, right? Where like you have like a robot horse and it's like sort of moving, but not very much, you know? It's just like an animatronic horse that you can see breathing and maybe like adjusts in its place. Like next to the building where the cowboys are all shooting at each other and doing stunts and like falling off the building. I wouldn't mind that. Like that to me, I'd be very happy. I would be happy to go see that. That sounds like incredible. I love a stunt show. Well, I say that. I've never seen one, but I love them, of course. And I would do that, but I just don't know, like, I just don't know if I want to eat. I mean, I don't have any pets in my house. I don't eat by any animals, ever. That's not my life. So I guess, like, I just weird out about it. But they also have, like I said, t-shirt, like really cheap T-shirt stores where you know they print off as much. I mean, obviously Joe Biden is very unpopular, so they print off as much like Trump stuff and no Joe Biden stuff. That just none there, zero of it.
Right.
But they print it off. Also, Gatlinburg is a place. I would say that 30% of it's owned by Ripley's, and 30% of it is owned by Jimmy Buffett. That's another place. That's another thing that's there. A lot of Jimmy Buffett. Like, there's 2 separate Jimmy Buffett resorts there. And, you know, I can't tell you how many Ripley's places I saw around there. So there is also that, too. It's not for me. And if you like it, like my brother and his wife, they fucking love it. And good. I'm glad they love it. I'm glad they found a place they like in the United States. But I'll be damned. I told him, I was like, well, I didn't tell him this because I'm a pussy. But I said to my wife, I was like, next time we go on vacation with them, we're picking the place. They gotta go where I want to go. You know? Like I was thinking,
where's that going?
Denver.
Yeah.
I'd like to go to Denver or Boulder or California or Maine or something. It's just a place that isn't like, just not a place that's completely geared toward people coming in and being slobs for fucking 4 days. It's not for me. I'm a very sensitive boy who you know, obviously I'm a very sensitive boy who wants the conveniences of being in at least a mid-level city on my vacation. And it's just not there. They just don't have it. They have grocery stores, sure. But there are no good restaurants. There's no shopping that people like me can do. And you know, there wasn't a lot. And it was packed.
Maybe some exciting
Ah.
Some putt-putt, water slides.
No, I don't like that stuff.
I'm just describing.
I don't like none of that stuff. Yeah, that's what they have there.
No,
But I don't like any of that stuff. Like that stuff doesn't appeal to me at all. The helicopter ride might, but I don't think my daughter would do the helicopter ride. And to tell you the truth, I got on this like it was sort of a ski lift up the side of a mountain, and it scared the fucking living shit out of me being on that thing. I was gripping tight. I thought that was the last day I was gonna live when I was on that thing. I couldn't fucking believe how scared I was. And I've been hyping myself up the whole time, but once we got up there, and it stops like every 2 minutes so people can get on. It's like that's not how a ski lift works, dude. It doesn't stop. It just keeps going. But, obviously we live in these times with these millennials and stuff, and they want the ski lift
they
to
love
stop and yep.
Yeah.
They just want the ski lift to stop. But I will say, I had fun with my family. I actually had a decent time. It just is a place that it's one of those places where you see other people like having fun, and then it just reiterates to you that you're not other people. So that's what it is. That's how I feel. This is not the real Twitch stream yet, Timmy Fireball. I haven't started it. I said November 13th is when I'm going to start doing stuff. But, I'm a very busy boy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I announced it and then haven't gotten into it yet. So, how are you, Hank? How is the world treating you? What do you got going on?
Oh man, some exciting news in the pet department. But first, I was going to tell you about you had the Seriously Wrong fellas on your show a couple weeks ago. A lot of what you guys talked about was very much in line with like a lot of my kind of college education, as well as sort of like viewpoint. You were talking a lot about library socialism and like how we waste stuff and recycling. And you guys, I really enjoyed the conversation. So a lot of stuff came up. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I've been eating and so trying to catch up. I've not been working out. And so I actually went to school for industrial distribution management, which is basically a fancy way of saying manufacturing and like efficiency and supply chain management. So a lot of that crap is sort of in my head a lot, although I haven't worked in that field at all. I kind of just stumbled through college. I definitely should have studied something different. Nevertheless, one thing you guys brought up about a bunch was like planned obsolescence and reusing materials and how we waste stuff in the world, and like companies want us to throw crap away. The more we do, the more every time we buy something, we're just like contributing to this pile of garbage in the whole planet. And so I actually started a business a few years back, kind of an impulsive move where I was sitting around and I decided to make a video series about building myself a workbench on my balcony. So like that was sort of the hook. And then I kind of evolved that into a business idea where I would take furniture from the street, because LA is, you never have to buy any furniture if you don't want to in LA. There's always stuff. People are always getting kicked out. People are always moving. There's always furniture on the street, and much of it's junk, but plenty of it is still pretty good wood. It needs to be maybe cleaned up a little or processed or reformed. If you know how to cut boards into smaller boards, you can build almost anything. And I wanted to build shit stools. I decided that it'd be kind of a cool business to like build shit stools out of found furniture and make videos of it too. And that was sort of like going to be my thing. And that was, I'm not even sure what I expected to happen, but I started this thing. I called it Bum Rush Industries. I decided to name the shit stools the Bum Rush. They've got the Squatty Potty. There's the Bum Rush.
Ah, yes.
And I had I did a bunch of brainstorming. I was going to call it the Lunch Launcher. We're going to have, it's a fun topic because we're talking about doo-doo and poo-poo, which is something that everybody can't help but chuckle about, right? There's all sorts of jokes, endless variety and endless comedy. Plus, it's a valuable service. If anybody out there is thinking about trying a poo stool, it's really easy. You don't need to buy one. Just get a cardboard box that's about between 4 and 7 inches, 6 inches is perfect. Put some books in it, preferably books you don't like, and put your feet on that while you have a go, and it'll be amazing. It's like putting on glasses. I'm telling you, it's an incredible experience. I really highly recommend it. And so anyway, I was also going to sell other stuff. I was going to make videos and do sort of like a woodworking YouTube channel. That's like what Bum Rush Industries was going to be. And I registered the business. I got a mailbox because I was going to start sending things out. I never sold a single thing. I never sold a single goddamn item. I listed some candle holders. And during this time, though, I had also gotten this woodworking job too. So that sort of slowed a bunch of it down. So then I was doing professional woodworking 4 days a week. And that kind of killed the effort a little bit. And plus I'm out of my brain and have other creative projects and stuff too. So, it was sort of a bad idea, maybe. I actually think it's a decent enough idea if I could find other people to help me with it or something. But I recently got a letter from the city of Los Angeles for not re-registering, and they've fined me. They've assessed me a fine of over $6,000. So I owe.
Do you have to pay it though?
I'm going to get out of it, I think, because I never sold. I literally have spent, I'm like negative $2,000 on this business. You know what I mean? Like I've spent so much goddamn money on tools and materials and shipping supplies and all sorts of stuff. And I build really great stuff. I wanted for a while there when I was going to get my podcast back on its legs. I was going to the idea was sort of that I would build my own merch. Like I make these really cool little small items like trays or candle holders or small boxes or things like that. And I thought it'd be really fun to have like a level of Patreon where like you got a tray that I built or something like that. And I still kind of want to do that. Although now my wrists are messed up because of that job. I fucked up my wrists badly. So I can't really do much woodworking anymore, at least for the near while. So yeah, man, I just thought it would be, I just wanted to share that I owe $6,000 on a fucking business that I didn't sell a single thing for, which is just ridiculous.
That is fucking
nuts.
crazy. I do want to say, I really enjoyed doing that show with the Seriously Wrong guys. I said it on there, but people have been trying to hook us up for a very long
Great
time.
Episode. Really good episode. I very much encourage people to listen to that one. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
People have been trying to get us together for a long time. We're just both kind of nervous of talking to each other, which is, there's a lot of that, nobody wants to promote, or be perceived as promoting. Obviously we all want to promote. We're all promoting all the fucking time, but yeah, those guys are great. They're funny and they're really smart and they were really nice to talk to. I mean, you can tell the show went on, I think 2 hours. Had a really good time with those guys. I highly recommend Pop and Boy on Means TV. It is like actually very good. I'm not even bullshitting. They're not around, so what are you gonna fucking do? It's a good show. I actually really enjoyed it. But yeah, Hank, it's good to hear from you, buddy. I got to get more calls in.
You too.
We have a full queue, but thanks for calling.
I'm trapping a cat tomorrow morning. I'll tell you all about it. It's a very emotionally mixed endeavor. I'll tell you next week. Wish me luck. All right.
Good luck. So, yeah, I was looking in the chat here. I'm trying to let's pick up. I'm gonna pick up this next call here. Hello, you're talking to Brian on Street Fight. What is up?
Hey, Brian, it's Matt from Memphis.
What's up, Matt? How's it going in Memphis? I missed you. Memphis is nowhere near Gatlinburg. Very far away. Like probably 7 hours or 8 hours, maybe.
Yeah, it's a bit of a drive.
I Googled how close it is to Nashville, and it was 6 hours, and I was like, fuck. Well, not going there. Well, what's up, Matt?
Yeah, so I finally quit the shitty trucking company I was working for, and am with a new trucking company now. So finally for the first time in my life, making some real money, which is nice. But at the same time, it's kind of ups and downs to it because for the past 18 days since I started with this company, I've been on the road 17 days,
God
and
damn.
I'm about to.
You don't get a break, man. I think the last time we talked to you, didn't get no days off either. And then you were stuck at a guy's house. This is Matt. First of all, Matt got arrested in a street fight shirt, and it was in the newspaper. It was pretty sweet. He was doing civil disobedience. He wasn't like a murderer or anything. He's not like Jeffrey Dahmer. But yeah, Matt is a truck driver, and I think the first time you had called in, right, was when I was opining about if there was going to be a job that I could do that's not this. I think I could be a good truck driver. I would enjoy being a truck driver. Obviously there's a lot of stuff I don't know about the job. I'm also talking about a specific type of truck driver, I think, that is not, I don't think it's what you do, right? Like, do you do like what I guess they call long haul trucking? Like, or are you local? Because it seems to me that like one of the big selling points for a lot of these truck driving companies is that you're local. And I'm like, I don't want that. I'm trying to be a truck driver.
So my last job, I had like a dedicated route that just took me back and forth between like Dallas, Fort Worth, and Illinois over by like kind of near Indianapolis. And then all I do pretty much is just drive that lane back and forth. But this company, at least it's a little more interesting. I had to see some different spots. I'm still driving long haul, but I'm kind of all over what they refer to as their Midwest region. But I've actually had some really pretty drives the past few weeks I've been with these guys. Like, man, going up through West Virginia and into Pennsylvania, like through the Blue Ridge Mountains out there, just absolutely gorgeous. But
Do you ever get?
yeah.
Because
Oh yeah.
I've heard the complaint. No, I've heard the complaint from truck drivers, right? That like you're not really seeing the country in any real way because you're sort of driving on bypasses and you're not necessarily going into the city. And if you do have to go into a city, it's a nightmare. But you are seeing like, you're driving, you could pull off at like the Blue Ridge Mountains and sort of look around and see that kind of stuff. And I have talked to other people who have gotten hotels in the city, like parked the truck and got a hotel in the city or whatever. And, I guess like for me, it's like, I think the way I see truck driving as being this romantic job that I want is absolutely just driving from place to place, different places every time. I don't want to fucking go to the same place every time, where you were like, we're going here and here and here. And we're going. Oh, wait, let me answer this. Brooklyn Skulls, yes, there were repeat callers, and I asking, were there repeat callers prior to 2020 when I found you? Yes, there were repeat callers. I do not know what happened to a lot of them. There was Elizabeth who calls every once in a while. Sex Find Pro, Jason, block Sex Find Pro because I can't figure out how to get rid of them. We had Elizabeth. We had the escaped. What was the name? We had the escaped Jehovah's Witness, whom I can't remember her name now. We had Weed Waffles. We've always had repeat callers. from the beginning. So, but anyway, the last time I talked to you, you were very low on truck driving. You sort of thought it was shitty, and you had been stuck at some weird freak guy's house and with his family and stuff like that. Where are you at now on truck driving? Because you are the person I live vicariously through in my truck driving dream. You know, oh, the big guy.
I think
yeah,
you'd
well,
be a
the
good
big
truck
guy.
driver, Brian.
I feel like I could. I think like what's gonna happen next year is I'm going to start. My daughter graduates high school in May, and I think me and the wife are I'm just gonna like put shows on, and we're gonna drive around the country, fucking around, you know. So, we're gonna see a lot of the country.
Well, hey,
probably in
maybe you'll need a
better way
van
than
driver or something.
No, it's just gonna be me and her. It's
Maybe
gonna
you'll
be
need
like
a van
two
driver.
old
I'll hook you
people.
up.
It's gonna be two old people driving around, me doing live gigs, like or some kind of live gigs. Who fucking knows what I'm gonna be doing in next May? But I'll have a little more money and I'll be able to do some stuff. So that is very nice.
I mean, like, it's still an extremely difficult job, like, as far as like the working conditions are concerned. And in orientation with the company I'm with, that is infinitely better than Pam Trucking. Fuck Pam Trucking.
Suck it,
they
Pam Trucking.
Got sued over and over again for wage theft and had to settle all these lawsuits like while I was working for them. But this company is a lot better. I'm getting 60 cents a mile working for these guys, and they're paying minimum weekly pay. As long as I work 5.5 days, they pay me $13.50 a week guaranteed pay. So
Google.
it's a lot of money, which is nice.
Can I ask you, like, how many miles a regular? How many miles is a regular trip? 60 cents a mile. I always think like when I travel, it's like 350 miles, and it's like 60 cents a mile for 350 miles. Probably ain't that great, you know.
So for this week, I put in like 2,900 miles. So do the math on that, and I think I did 2,905, and times 60 cents a mile. It's like 1,745 for
that's
for
great.
A week's work. Not too shabby, but like the downside
more
to
than
that,
me,
of course, is that to do that, you know, I've also put in 68 hours on the clock, and you know, I'm living on the road for that whole amount of time. So like, it's like, yeah, I'm making like probably 50-60% more money than I've ever made in my life, for sure, working with this company. But at the same time, it's like I'm also working twice as much as I've ever worked in my life. So it's like a kind of a give take thing on that, where like yeah, you can make decent money doing like you get your teeth kicked in if you're an idiot like I was and don't go through a union to get your training, wind up stuck with a shitty company like I did. But yeah, man, if you pour over and do the obnoxious job hunting stuff and apply at a bunch of different places and find the right spot, you can make decent money doing this job.
Psychic Gasoline just asked something, and now I'm very curious, which I think he's asking the wrong question. But how are your speedway points looking? We're looking at pilot points. Psychic Gasoline.
I'm a dum because I should have the cards for every single different fuel station and save them up, but like I just got to a point where I was like, man, I don't know that I want 20 different cards in my wallet blowing that thing up. Be looking like George Costanza and Seinfeld.
But imagine
I just have the
free
love
junk
card. But yeah, I've earned like a few $100 since I started driving a year ago in Love's Point. So it's, you know, I'm mostly just,
that's a good one too,
spending on food and stuff.
I only go to pilots really when I'm on the road. I'm like a pilot guy. I do have two more questions for you that I wanted to ask, and one of those questions would be, why do you all wear those headsets with the microphone that comes around like you're in a helicopter? That's one question.
So I think some guys just have it paired to their phone, but some guys have like a Bluetooth CB that they'll tie that into. I've never messed around with the CB before.
I think you should.
I figured I've kind of heard from like the guys that trained me when I was starting out, like it's kind of mostly just a bunch of old racists. That's like, yeah.
Oh, really?
That's kind of what I figured.
Yeah. I mean, I would give
like,
it a
you
shot,
can get,
though.
Like, advice about the roads and stuff. Or, like, hey, maybe I can spread communism over the CB, you know?
Yeah, I had that was sort of the other question I had for you. Have you considered, especially when you're stuck just crashing somewhere, because I know that happens too. You hit a certain amount of miles and you just got to pull over and go to sleep. Have you considered like using your social networks to meet up with people? Because I think the thing that worries a guy like me who has a family and just, you know, I'm real horrible away from my wife and stuff like that. I don't like being away from her, and I like being around my daughter and stuff like that. I think, want human. It would be hard to have human connections and real friendships in a way. I think if you're on the road, you know, 5 days a week. I'm not saying you don't have friends. I'm just saying like it would be hard to conduct friendships.
100%. And like dating, I don't know how that's possible for me with this job where I'm, you know, they're supposedly going to start getting me back home once a week again. I just I had to be out a little longer on this run so I could go catch the Dollop podcast out in Nashville in a couple weeks.
Cool.
But
well, that's what I'm wondering. That's what I'm wondering.
It's a tough thing because it's like, how do you have any kind of real social life when you're getting either, you know, 1 day home a week if I'm spending a week out on the road, or, you know, a couple days off if I'm out for like 10 days. Yeah, it's rough, man. And
you know what I think?
Kind of stellar.
You know what I think here also when you talk about, you know, the CB radio has a lot of guys that are racist or Trump people and stuff like that. I wonder if it's because there is nobody challenging their beliefs ever. You know, you're in a truck all day. You go to a truck
That's a good
stop.
point.
You might sit in the little movie theater or whatever they have in the truck stop, watch TV for a little bit. You take a shower, you get back in your truck. You might talk to like a couple of people at home or anything like that. But like, I mean, nobody is. If you're into Trump and you're on the CB and you're listening to right-wing radio all day, you might never hear a left opinion in your entire life. You might not even know that there's like, you know what I mean?
You probably think Rachel Maddow is the left.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
or Joe
even
Biden,
then,
the communist Joe Biden.
well, everything you know of the left is through the lens of these guys. So like The View would be something that those guys talk about all the time.
Yeah.
When nobody on the left watches The View. It's ridiculous. And like, I wonder if the fact that like people are spending all that time off the road, because I've also known truck drivers who had some really bad opinions and were away from their family a lot and didn't have much of a relationship with anybody in their house. And like, I just wonder if it's not like an inherent thing to truck driving that you're conservative, because I also would probably say that there are liberal truck drivers too, Democrats and stuff like that never hear the other side. You know what I mean? Other than maybe seeing it on a t-shirt where you're like, oh, fuck that. That's stupid. You know, it's the big orange idiot. You know what I mean? Like, so it is a job that probably lends itself. Yeah, it seems like a job that probably lends itself toward just hardening your beliefs at all times. Like, it just isn't going to be a job where you're going to be like, oh, you know, maybe I should listen to the other side. Again, I've talked about the time at the cable company with me. I didn't know there was a fucking other side. I thought I was listening to the news when I was listening to Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh. I didn't know there was another side at all. I thought that was the truth and that was the facts. And I never heard anybody say anything on the other side. And, you know, my father-in-law is a guy who's like really into Trump and stuff like that now, but had voted for Obama 2 times and seemed like he was turning more, you know, liberal as he got older. And then just they moved to Florida. And they lived in the Villages for, I think, 8 years or something like that, and just completely turned back into extreme, like, racist Trump people. And, like, to me, I always felt like that is because, and I'm not tooting my horn, I'm just saying that, like, I was somebody who would push back on his right-wing beliefs to get him to change his mind. But he didn't have a conversation with me for most of those years, maybe 2 or 3 conversations in like 8 years. And he never heard the other side. He had no idea what the other side says other than what Ben Shapiro says the other side says. So it seems like trucking might sort of have the same effect on people in that, like, it just hardens their beliefs no matter what the beliefs are. But again, you should like, I'm not telling you it's your job to like change people's minds, but the CB, you know, could be interesting. But yeah, Psychic Gasoline asked if there's a trucker dating app, and he has a few that we could look into. Lot Lover, Rig to Ring, Long Haul Love, and then a dating app called Trucker Sucker. Is there a trucker dating app?
Actually, I have Trucker Sucker installed in my phone already. Yeah.
Are you serious? Wait a minute.
No.
Now
I
gotta
don't
get
know
on
that
Trucker
exist
Sucker.
Yet.
Is there another question?
I might have to steal that one from Psychic Gasoline.
Another question.
Yeah, I don't know
not
if there's a trucker
sex
dating
workers
app.
no, there is Trucker Sucker. Trucker Sucker actually exists. It's the dating app for
that's
truckers.
dope.
real men. You sign up at truckersucker.com now and meet masculine men today. So I think it's a website
There we go.
like to meet masculine men, I guess. I don't fucking know. But yeah, truckersucker.com. I'm going to spend some time on there. I was going to say I'll get that app just to see what's doing. But there aren't sex workers at any of the truck stops, are there? Because that's like a misnomer too.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like I've never encountered one or seen one and at any truck stop I've ever been to though. You know, I think it happens, but I think probably
You probably got to call 'em.
greatly exaggerated.
Well, it's because when it's because when you're at like a truck stop, you see the truckers and they have signs on the truck that says no lot lizards. At least they did years ago. And that makes you think that makes you believe that there are a ton of them everywhere, and there's so many that you need a sign to say like no soliciting, you know.
Oh, you know, I think we should start doing some myth making along those lines. Like, you know how the wine moms are terrified they see a zip tie on their car or whatever. That means they're going to get trafficked. Whatever nonsense urban legend. Maybe we could start making up some myths about how you know someone is trying to pick up a lot lizard on the truck stop. If you see.
That's what the no lot lizard sign means. But
yeah,
Matt, I thank you for calling. I like talking to you about trucking. It's wonderful, and thank you so much. Call back soon, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Good talking with you, Brian.
Good to talk to you. Oh, I'm dropping the call. Trucker. I wanted to be a trucker more than any. You will never know how bad I wanted to be a trucker when I was young. It was fucking crazy. It was fucking, it's all I thought about. I think I saw Cannonball Run and fucking Smokey and the Bandit when I was young, and it just really captured my imagination. Now, let's get this next call. Hey, thanks for calling. Who am I talking to?
Brian, this is Eric.
Eric was in the chat.
Yeah.
I want to say what you said in the chat. You're from Branson or you live in Branson?
So I called in maybe 2 weeks ago. I talked to you about trains and stuff or whatever. And I talked to you about how my buddy Adam is the bus driver in Tacoma. So this is just my second time calling in. And anytime I can weaponize my one personality trait, which is having lived in Branson, Missouri for the first 15 years of my life or so, I just jump at it. Like I start foaming at the mouth. I go nuts because it's just all I can do. It's like it shapes my entire worldview. So
it's interesting because this is something I actually wanted to talk about. I was looking into trying to figure this out. I just don't think it exists. I'm sort of curious about what the locals do in a place like that.
Well, my family moved from California to Branson, Missouri in like the late 90s whenever I was like 3 or 4. So all I really knew was oh God, man, like if I had a fucking vote, you could bet I would not have chosen to leave Northern California for fucking Branson. God damn. But anyways, that's like, you know, from maybe 3 to like 18 when I left for college. All I knew was like Branson, Missouri. We were like lower middle class / upper lower class. So we didn't really go and, you know, we didn't do many vacations. Like if we did have money to do stuff, it was like, they just sent me back to California basically. So I like, you know, my best friend for a lot of, not my best friend, but one of my best friends for the large majority of my early time in Branson, and for most of my time in Branson, my best friend was he was a kind of the scion of the Herschen family that owns Silver City and Dolly Parton's Dixie Stampede and all that stuff. That's a
Ooh.
very close friend of mine. Is like the scion of like that family and stuff. So
Ooh.
I've got a weird insight into all that shit. But so to double back to your thing about like the store part of it, like you go there to the South and you want to have a good time and you want to like, soak up the culture like a little bit. And all you see are these like strip mall, like culture shops that just hawk dog shit, FJB, Let's Go Brandon merch, whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry to tell you, that's all it is. That's all it is. Like
But
as
so
someone,
I went, but so let me, because I think that's interesting that you bring that up. But I went to get a smoothie on the second day. I think I was there, maybe the first day. I don't know. It doesn't matter what day. Nobody cares. I went to get a smoothie and I went to a strip mall where, first of all, there's a strip mall and it had like a monkey experience in a strip mall where me and my daughter were.
You wouldn't believe.
Me and my daughter are looking at the windows at these fucking monkeys that, that was you've heard me complain about dogs in cities, people having dogs in the city and stuff like that, but whew. Mamma mia,
monkeys in the South having like zoo animals in the South.
Well, just monkeys in a strip mall, like swinging on a thing, so one or two people a day can come in and take their picture close to the monkeys. That's just
so soulless.
There was nobody coming in there. There was nobody in that place when I was there. And I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I don't think they get a customer every day. I'm gonna fucking say it.
No,
I don't even think they get one every day.
I mean, think of what it's like to like live year round in Branson, Missouri. Like the tourist season is like when it's warm out, right? Branson/Missouri is the Midwest, so it's pretty nice in the summer, or it gets pretty hot, but it's cold as shit sometimes in the winter. And so the infrastructure for the touristy, come on down, check it out. We got all this root and toot and culture stuff. It's there year round, but it sucks. Like, and if you're around it all the time, you want to do nothing less than to deal with that shit. Like, it is so putrid and repulsive to you just because it's so blatantly a tourist trap and it's so blatantly soulless and like it's just I don't know. But then it's also there like all the time. So like half the time the like strip mall zoo is just empty, it's just fully empty.
I gotta correct some stuff in here real quick. Shot Gaming says you probably just wanted a job where you could listen to Mancow and Howard all day as about me wanting to truck. I did not listen to Mancow until I started doing Shocktober. Do not tell people I was ever a Mancow.
Sure.
Yeah, I was never a Mancow fan. Okay, it was Howard Stern and Opie and Anthony. 1, 2. Kami Mommy heard me say I don't like dogs in cities. It's not that I don't like dogs. But I don't look down on people who have dogs. But I don't like, I would be lying if I didn't say that when I see a really big dog in the middle of the city and think about it living in a 2-bedroom apartment, it really fucking bums me out. That's all. But I want to ask you, because when I went to the smoothie shop, I like sort of looked at the fella that was the woman that was making my smoothie and the guy running the cash register. And all I could wonder is, like, they're young. They're very young. They were probably 17, 18 years old. Both people of color, both black. And I was like, what do they do? Like, what do these people, what is their life like when they go home from work?
What's sad is that like, what do you guess their life is like? That's exactly what it's like. You know,
I don't know.
like,
I feel like you're stuck at home all day. I don't feel like
that's
like,
correct.
there's no restaurants. there's no
No, there's nothing.
There is. You would
It's-
think, I said this earlier, you would think that there would be a few 5-star restaurants down there because
nothing.
there's
Well,
no.
So there is some like quote unquote culture. Like I keep saying that word. It's a pretty ambiguous word, but what I say when I mean culture in terms of these places is like authentic experience, like something to be enjoyed, right? Like something that's not a simulacrum, something that's not manufactured to make you think you're enjoying something that's not really there. Like that stuff does exist in these places. However, the people who are going there to find it are almost exclusively the last type of people who will actually be able to parse it out and actually get to it, because it's really hard to fucking find. And it's a needle in a haystack. There's 1,000 of the dog shit before there's one good thing. But there's also,
I didn't find anything.
when you live there, there's nothing. It's really hard, you know.
I didn't find anything personally in Gatlinburg, and I'm not inept at Googling for stuff. I find stuff all the time. Everywhere I go, I find really cool restaurants, really cool places to be, and I just didn't find anything. And then when you're driving down the road, and again, that's what I'm saying about these people working at this smoothie place. I didn't even see a fucking bar. You know what I mean? Like I didn't see a bar that wasn't like owned by.
Yeah, like
it's just a bar that was owned by Brantley Gilbert.
It's close to where they live. You know, like
right. That's what I'm
just
wondering.
The next thing over. No, which is okay. Well, then multiply that out from like, okay, if you're going to work somewhere that's just close to where you live and you don't really care because your prospects are so low, well, then you're not going to go out of your way to go enjoy the thing that is cool in your area. Because guess what? Your life does kind of suck a little bit. I'm sorry to say it. Like, you know, you're stuck where you're at. And it's, yeah.
I have been to other places. I'll throw a place out there just at random, but like places with tourists. I've been to what's that fucking Pike Street thing in Seattle?
In Seattle? Yeah, so I actually went to Seattle, I went to Tacoma for college. And so every time that my family and friends would fly out to Washington State to come visit me in college, they'd be like, let's go to Pike Place. And I'm like, that's fucking Branson of the fucking Seattle. No.
But it makes you feel like there's to me, going there is a bit less problematic. Same thing with the Navy Pier in Chicago.
Yes,
even Times Square. To me, there is something like, I can go 5 blocks the other way and find something fucking cool. And that's where it's the same thing in Vegas, right? It's like you go on the strip and you're like, man, this place is fucking, but you can go 5 blocks down the strip and there's all kinds of fucking cool little things.
I want to tell you a quick story that I think would add some insight into how, like, it'll help contextualize how not just the South, but like places that feel like that when you go there, where it's like, man, I thought there was something here, but it's just stuff here to make you think there's something here, but there's not. So a quick story to contextualize that is like, so again, I lived in Branson for my whole adolescence, and I went to California often for like, you know, summer vacations and stuff. But we didn't really have much money to like go out and like, you know, we didn't go on big New York City trips or whatever. We didn't even drive to like St. Louis or like Little Rock or whatever very often. And the one vacation I can really remember when I was a kid, when I was like 15 or so, was going to Pensacola, Florida. My mom had like family friends who lived in Pensacola. And I was like, oh shit, I've never been to Florida before, let alone like, you know, the beach or whatever. That's so crazy. And so we drove all the way down there and we got there and it was fucking Branson. It was just Branson all over again. It was like, it was just strip mall, like t-shirt joints that have like fun little kitschy little slogans on them. And I was like, okay, well, I guess this is just America. I don't know. And
well, no, it's not though. Really, because even in Florida, even in Florida, if you look at Pensacola, I don't know exactly where it is, but
It's
it's in the
panhandling.
That's tough.
Yeah.
But you go to Jacksonville, which I saw a lot of cool shit in Jacksonville. There was some pretty cool shit. I'm looking at you could go a few blocks away because the place I was going to bring up was Orlando, which is a place that's specifically made for that sort of thing. But like there are cool places near Orlando. I know because we were about to tour,
which
like we were about to tour.
That's the kind of moral. Yeah, that's the moral of my story or whatever. Is that like that Pensacola trip like rewired my brain because I loved being there. I loved the scenery. I loved a lot of the shit that I saw there because I'd never seen it before. And like the beaches were cool and like a lot of the local culture was cool. But like the part that I could tell that everyone was there for was the exact part that I was so used to and was so disgusted by. So like it just helped me focus on like you gotta find the cool shit because it's everywhere, but it's really hard to find sometimes.
I mean, I would say also that like the reason there's so many of those places and it's so successful is because somebody goes to one of these places as a kid and they see the t-shirt stores and they see all that stuff, and so that is what they identify as vacation. I goof on my parents a lot for going on cruises all the time because I just think a cruise is a ridiculous thing. It's a ridiculous thing to do, especially because they don't get off.
Like,
well, they don't even get off the boat for the excursions or anything like that. So they just stay on the boat the whole time. But the thing is, when they are there, they get the feeling of vacation. In their minds, the feeling of vacation
that's what you're going for.
Wandering around.
You're gonna get it there,
boat. Yeah, it's wandering around a stupid boat that, like, I don't know what they have on cruises, but nothing my parents do. I can guarantee that.
Like, you're getting exactly what you paid for, I guess. Because if that's what you want to go do and you go do it, and then you like it and you go do it again, well, then what's the problem? I don't know.
Well, that's also the thing is, like, when you're in Gatlinburg, you'll see Guy Fieri restaurant. You'll see it's not Brantley Gilbert.
So,
it's one of those
That's
Kenny
the
Chesney
question
or
I
one
have
of
for
those
you
guys.
is that what were other people there like not just the locals, not just whatever, like could you tell that there were other people there that were copies of you, essentially, like people doing there what you thought you were there to do? Like what were they like? Because I couldn't enjoy anything in Branson because I was 9 out of the 10 people in the room, even if I was not feeling very touristy or whatever, 9 out of the 10 people in the room were just like oafs, just like slack-jawed morons there to slop up the just to eat out of the trough and go home. Like, I don't know. That sounds really evil and mean of me to say, but like.
Well, I didn't see a lot of people like me personally, but I'm also a totally different kind. Like I'm a 43-year-old child. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
So I don't know what I don't dress like an adult really. I mean, I guess I kind of do.
Did anyone there who was there to enjoy stuff, did they piss you off at all?
Yeah. I mean, there were people fucking like cruising the strip, and I saw a few guys almost get into several fights, and it just it felt like all the people there were really enjoying it, and they liked the kitschy stuff, and they liked going to the Ripley's Museum, and they liked doing mini golf. And look, if that's what you want to do, I'm all fucking for it. But it's just the kind of people what I
for whom COVID never happened. Like
well, like, when I look at it though,
who just cruise through life.
That's what I mean, again, that's what I think my brother likes so much about it. 'Cause my brother's a lot like me in ways, I mean, he's a lawyer, so he went to law school and all that stuff. But my brother there are things like he likes a lot of the same shit that I like when it comes to music. He has kind of my same politics in a way. I think he's a little less like radical than me, and he knows what's cool. I know he knows what's cool, and I believe that like he likes it there because he went with his wife and daughter when they were young, and they've never
And they had a
really
good time, so he had a good time. So what's there to complain about?
right. And they had never been to. They've never been to New York. They've never been to any place in California, and they always say that those places aren't on their list, which having a list is even nutty to me. But whatever.
That's another thing is that like it sounds really snobby sometimes to be like, oh, that's where the real stuff is or whatever. Like if you're gonna go on vacation, you're like don't go to the tourist traps, go to the real places or whatever. Like that's not really the point. The point is that like those places aren't built around the idea of like selling you something or whatever. Like maybe they are, maybe they do that when you go there, especially, or maybe most people who go there do fall into that trap a little bit. But it's like it's a lot easier to pretend that you're a local or whatever in a place that's not trying to sell you the idea that you're a local, as opposed to when you go there and you're like everything is beating you over the head of like, aren't you having a great time here? Like I don't. It's just so nasty to me.
That's a good point too. That was something I again like I would come back from tour and be talking to my family about, oh yeah, we were in Portland and it was really cool. We I took a big walk and we looked at stuff. What city was kind of cool? St. Louis. I didn't think it was going to be, but it ended up being a pretty cool place. Kansas City. That's a pretty cool place. Houston. And I was just, I would come home and talk and they would just sort of, I don't know. They like weren't interested in seeing these places again, as I said, like as far as Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, like those places, Dallas was a place I really wanted to see.
So you've been sorry to cut you off a little bit, but like you've been talking about like LA a lot recently. How like you've been talking about how like if you could picture yourself anywhere, you could picture yourself in a couple of just like specific places, LA being one of them or whatever. And I think from what I've heard, it's like what I think that is driving that for you is that like you can fully map out your whole life there if it had to be there, like you could totally
my job, it would help with my job, I think, tremendously. I want to go to Salt Lake City. Don't you worry about that. I will go to Salt Lake City. Somebody in the chat, Avery, said it. But I'm saying that, like, LA to me, the reason LA is a place that I can see myself is because I've been there twice, and the whole time I was there, I just loved it. But let me tell you this. Before I had ever been there, before I had ever been to New York, I used to say, oh, I definitely think I'm more of a New York person than I am an LA person. And I just never been. I'd never been to either place. And then when I went to both of those places and I came back and I was like, New York's great. I like being there. I always have fun there. But like LA is just a magical place for me. I just think it's a great place to be for me. Other people hate it there, but that's just if I could move anywhere, I'd be there.
But like the point of me saying that is to be like, I think for certain people, like for one reason or another, it's like what makes a place appealing, either as a vacation destination or as a place just to visit for a day, not even as like a vacation, but as just like, wouldn't it be cool if we went there or whatever, or as like a place of like, let's go check it out and see if that's the kind of people that we are or whatever. That whole thing, whether it's motivated by one part of your personality or not, I think is like the thing with you in LA, I think that I was bringing up was like, you can sort of pretend like there's a feasibility there, like it's cool enough and like appealing to you enough in like a holistic way that you can actually imagine like if things were different, if things went different, if you were born there or if you moved there and you had the right job or whatever, that it would be like a cool experience or whatever. But then if you try mapping that onto places like Gatlinburg or like fucking Branson or someplace, and then you go there and it's like, oh no, it's nothing. It's so hollow. Like the people
I couldn't
who
ever imagine it.
Yeah, it's like the people who live here to give you that experience would rather be doing anything else.
Probably aren't making any money either. I mean, I guess like one thing that I would
fucking minimum wage.
One thing I would
minimum wage in Missouri is $7.50. Like if I go back there, the best I'm making is $9 an hour. You know,
I think getting your ass kicked at every shift for wait staff is a pain in the ass, but I'm sure they make good tip money like daily in places like that. But
then,
I mean,
then you're letting out the
behest
of the vacation guy.
Well, what the fuck do you end up like sort of doing with it then? Like in the end,
nothing.
There's nowhere to go.
Management.
You're just gonna order shit on the internet and stuff. There's.
Then you're gonna go into management and then maybe get your own place. It's
I looked up stores.
The escape valve in those areas that I've found has always been timeshare or real estate. If you can escape service industry jobs in those areas and live there, then you get to start selling homes to the people who want to move there.
Right. Yeah. I just think as far as like why I mean, like I said, what I was saying about my brother is like I would come back from a place like LA and say like, oh, it's the most wonderful place. If you ever go there, let me know. I can introduce you to some people. And I told him to go to Milwaukee too, which is another city that's just fucking incredible. What a great city that
I'd love to go there.
Oh, Milwaukee, go there for real. People are like Milwaukee. I'm like, it rocks. I love that. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the country.
There's a couple towns that I've always felt a weird affinity for. So like when I moved to Tacoma for school, I was like, Seattle's fine, but I'm thinking more about a Tacoma guy. And then I got to like extrapolate that onto every American city. Be like, okay, what are the Tacoma style cities? So I currently live in Maryland, and I'm like, Baltimore fucking rocks. I love Buffalo. I love Milwaukee. I'd love Kansas City. Like, the second fiddle cities that are kind of a little bit more dirty, a little bit more grungy going on or whatever. Like the places that maybe people are from and love, but if you're from one city over, you're like, oh, I guess I'd go there or whatever. Like I just love that shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I just get to Milwaukee if you can't go during the summer. The other thing the reason I was talking about my brother there is because, like I said, I'd come back and I'd be like, I loved Los Angeles, Seattle, and he would just be like, those places are really low on my list. And like, he's been to Phoenix, he's been to Disney, like all these places, which
places you wouldn't even think of.
Yeah, well, tourist places. I go to Phoenix because they have the Grand Canyon. I'm gonna go to, and I just want him to go. That's why I said next time we go on vacation together, you got to fucking go with us, and I get to pick because I want to show you what my family vacations are like, which is generally just shopping. Like go to Chicago, walk Winter Park, and so it's really it is a different vibe that I get on vacation. Yeah. But if I could recommend, I like Baltimore a lot too, actually. Baltimore's cool, but I'm just very fond of Milwaukee. Took my family on a vacation there after I performed there the first time.
And
it's great.
If I go to Milwaukee, I'm staying in a hotel. I'm not doing some Airbnb shit. I'm not bringing a camper. I'm not doing any of that shit. I'm staying in a hotel.
Don't do it. Stay in a fucking hotel, 4-star. I think I stayed in a 3.5 there. I think I stayed in a 3. It was one of those boutique ones, like AC collection.
10 a.m. is too early, man. 10 a.m. is way too early.
It's fucking bullshit. It fucking heats me up. I got to wake up at 9:30.
Noon is like, okay, it's reasonable. I'm out of bed. I got my shit together,
It should always be noon. That's why hotels are good. And that's why Airbnbs are shit. You got to fucking do the dishes and you got to be out of there by 10. It's like, I
think I saw a tweet once where someone was like, they got dinged on an Airbnb because they didn't mow the lawn. And it's like, go fuck yourself. I don't fucking live here.
Yeah, I had that in show prep for a while, and I just never ended up getting to it. But Eric, I want
Gets
to
you
thank
mad
you
if
for
parents think
calling.
about it. Okay, of course.
Yeah, fuck that.
Brian, it was
Thank you
lovely
for
talking to you. I'll
calling.
call
It's
you
good
again,
to hear
hopefully.
from you. It was very fun. Yeah, call us.
Yeah.
Call
See
anytime.
you, Brian.
Peace. Yeah. If I had to name like my favorite cities, it's certainly L.A. and I like New York and Chicago, but those underrated places like Eugene, Oregon, which I don't think is underrated. I think people actually go to Eugene, and Milwaukee are two places that I just fucking Milwaukee's great. This is a beautiful place. I do want to go to Salt Lake City and look at all the temples and probably goof around a lot. But well, hello there. Who am I talking to tonight?
Hey, Brian, this is Joe. How's it going?
Great. How are you, Joe?
Hey, can you hear me? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I can hear
awesome.
you.
Yeah, it's really funny because I actually live in Knoxville, which is right down the road from Gatlinburg. And you were just talking about those second-tier cities, and Knoxville is super dope, and you just went a little bit too far out of the way, and you missed it all.
I should go to Knoxville. I may have stayed there for one night on the road, but I went to Lexington with Tom Sexton, and well, he lives there, and I hung out with him there. I in Kentucky, but I'm woefully I wanted to go to Chattanooga. Like that's a place I never been. That sounds really fucking cool. But yeah, again, it was a family trip. I didn't pick it. If I picked it, it would have been in Nashville probably, so I could hang out with Mike and Jesse.
For sure.
But,
yeah. So I called because you've been talking about doing a Bob and Tom show, and I have kind of a funny anecdote about that. So I went to high school in Indianapolis, and I actually used to buy drugs from one of their kids.
Oh, Tom's? Was it Tom's son that's on the show now?
Is he on the show? Well, I
see.
actually looked it up, and I think he died in like June or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, he has a son
Yeah,
that's on the show.
I wanted to check on him, but yeah, he was. I think his name was Charlie Griswold. I don't know if that's
that's
or
not,
whatever.
yeah.
But
No, Tom's
Yeah,
son
yeah.
that's
Well,
on there now is somebody else.
yeah, it was wild because like the first time I met this guy, we had to drive, a little bit further out of town, and like apparently he like did so much LSD and DMT that allegedly he like crystallized his pineal gland. At least that's what everyone said. I don't know if you've heard of that before, but yeah, he just had this real like 1,000-yard stare, like kid who's seen some shit affect to him. And so I didn't figure out that he was, the son of this relatively famous radio producer until way, way later.
That's wild. I mean, I have been listening to Bob and Tom for a few days. A lot harder. I'm going to tell people. Oh, it's hard to say this because I just finished listening to Tom Leykis for a week, which was the worst thing in the history of the world. I love it. I'm sorry. What's the most Joe Rogan shit? Okay. I think people are mad at me now. But I think I'm not totally sure. But fuck, I forgot where I was. I'm sorry. I totally forgot what I was saying. Oh, what I'm saying is like I'm trying to listen to it. I'm trying to do so much better at listening to Bob and Tom, and I have to take breaks because I don't understand it at all. Like I don't. It's one of those things that what am I trying to say? It's one of those things that's like it's something that is very popular that I don't fucking know. You know I listen to this show and I don't fucking know why anybody likes
corny.
it.
It's more like corny than anything else. I remember listening to it a lot in the car when I was little just because my grandparents would turn it on. And then, every once in a while they'd have kind of a spicy one and they'd like turn it off for a couple minutes and then turn it back on and make sure it was going good. But yeah, like lots of weird songs and silly, funny jokes and stuff like that.
Dude, again, as I posted online, these motherfuckers, Tom, ran his credit card, like did the swipe of the credit card on a woman's pussy. I listened to him do that. So people are like, I don't know if they're shock jocks. And I'm like, well, you know, I've been saying for 4 years, I don't know if they're shock jocks. But I don't think that, like, I think that meets a central tenet of shock jocks in that, like, I don't think morning zoos don't usually do things like that, is what I'm saying. Like, Bob and Tom is dirty, and they do songs that are like pretty racist or I mean, they're not like mean spirited. I'm not trying to say like they're not like Opie and Anthony, you know, where they do the mean spirited stuff. But I mean, they don't fuck around. That's why I think it's crazy that people are like, yeah, my grandpa listens to that, my dad listens to that. I'm like, what? Why don't they listen to Stern, the person that's like doing good? Kami Mommy asks how I can know they actually did it. Are you sure it wasn't a debit card? You know, you obviously can never know. You can obviously never know if they actually did it, but there was a sound. It wasn't like this sound. That noise, like a little, like a wet kind of move, which I've heard that a lot. But there was a noise. There was a noise. And again,
but then every other song they have.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, every other song they have is just like a funny play on like the way wiper blades sound on your windowsill or something like that. You know, I feel like it's a really big range of just weird stuff. But yeah, this kid that I knew, Charlie, he like really reminded me of like when you were talking about Kid Rock a couple years ago, of like this kid who obviously came from a relatively well-off circumstance and then like wanted to get into some kind of like drug scene. And so it was just like doing a lot of the bad things that, you know, drug dealers do, but just with this like backbone of, you know, somewhat privileged, stable housing situation.
I think, though, I will say this, and I guess this is already an idiotic thing I'm saying. Well, actually, no, it's not. This is actually a good thing I'm saying. I don't think it's specific to radio guys, but I wonder how intense it is to be the son or daughter of a extremely locally famous guy. You know what I mean? Like Bob and Tom are massive. They get massive ratings, and you know they do all kinds of stuff. They do stand-up tours. Somebody in the chat was saying that they went to their stand-up tour. Canakem, they went to their stand-up tour, and it sounds like it wasn't very good. But to me, it was like it's been a weird experience to listen to it, because when I was growing up, my dad was a big Bob and Tom fan. And he hated Howard Stern. Oh, he's a male chauvinist. He's all this. So when I hear them doing the pussy stuff on the air, it made me so fucking mad at my dad. Like, who the fuck are you? You're the same shit. But I do think that, like, being the child of a locally famous person is probably, like, kind of a lot like being Tom Cruise's kid in a way. If that I know that sounds crazy, but it has to. Yes, you have money and privilege, but there's probably an immense amount of weird pressure that goes along with it too.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, whenever we didn't hang out a lot, you know, you'd pick up and then do a little, but like, you know, it never really came up, right? Nobody was like, oh my God, your dad or whatever. So I don't know how much that actually like came about in real life or how like recognizable it was, but exactly. But yeah, I don't know.
The kids were listening to Howard Stern.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thanks so much for taking the call. I love the show. Have a great night, man.
You too. You too. Have a good night. Bum bum bum. I taking the last call here. Here we go. Let's talk. Hello there. You're talking to Brian.
Hey,
What's
how
up?
you doing?
I'm good.
Hey, how are you? I just want to say
I'm
that
good.
Brian, first time, long time,
Nice.
and I'm loving the shock jock stuff.
Oh, really? Yeah. Is this the first year you've listened?
Yeah, definitely it has been. It's been it was actually the thing that got me into Street Fight.
Yeah. Well, if this is the first year you've listened to Shocktober, there are a lot of episodes to get through that people
Yeah.
love. Were you a fan of any of these guys, or?
Yeah, so actually, so I live in about 20 minutes south of Boston, Massachusetts. And
I know.
I
Can
went
guess?
to school for
Can I guess?
I
I guess who
mean,
you're a
dude,
fan
you
of?
can well, I'm 40, so trace it all the way back. I'll be very impressed.
Okay, so you probably had to be a lot like me, and you were into Stern, but then you had to have gotten into Opie and Anthony early. You had to have.
Dude, I was into Imus. Then I got into Stern.
Imus is a nutty thing to like. I guess that is crazy because I don't. How old were you? You're probably pretty young at the time, right? Like,
Well, think 93, 94. And Imus was broadcast on the sports radio stations in the morning. And he went on the air at 5:30. So that was dude, I had my little radio that was set to the radio station was WEI, WRKO. And dude, it just was on when it was on.
You didn't listen to Opie and Anthony on WAAF?
No, dude. I mean, of course I did. It's a long road to how I got into. But now I wanted to ask you a couple specific questions about shock jocks, if you don't mind. Did you ever read Imus's book?
I have not read Imus's book. I didn't
it's
know
called
he had
God's
a book.
Other Son. Yeah, it's called God's Other Son, and it's truly horrible.
I wonder if there's an audio
and this
version,
was
because I would listen to an audio version.
It was based on his Southern preacher character, which was
Billy Saul Hargis?
just really bad. Absolutely. You got it, dude. You got it.
It was about Billy Saul Hargis?
Yeah, it was written first person point of view.
Greaseman did the same thing. Greaseman released a book that was a biography of the Greaseman. Not Doug Tract. It's embarrassing. I'm telling you, it is the most embarrassing shit. And people are talking about my vacuum cleaner. Thank you. It's not a shark. It's a shark. My wife made me buy it. I never wanted to buy one. We used to borrow my sister's. But I think that I do wonder how bad that is, because writing a book in character that's embarrassing, man. That's like that Maddox guy.
Well,
he wrote that book in character.
I bought it.
Come on,
dude. I bought it in '95. I bought it. My grandfather was he wasn't an Imus fan, but I knew he was a talk radio fan, so I bought it for him. And then I read it, and it's dude, this is a whole different podcast series, man. I don't even want to talk about what it's about. It's awful.
Yeah, I'll have to check this out. They do have an audio book, so I could get into it. I don't know if you heard the Imus episode.
Of course I did, man. It's brilliant. It's so good.
Yeah, with me and Jesse and Chris. That was a joy for me to do. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a fan of I was a fan of Imus when I was still listening to Opie and Anthony. Actually, I first of all, they made me like Imus because they were like, "Oh, he's so nice to us. He has us on our show," and it was because they were antagonistic with Howard Stern. And also he was on MSNBC. So I'd get up in the morning, turn on MSNBC, and just have Imus running. But I don't remember a single thing I saw. So.
Well,
I want to clear this up.
Imus.
I want to clear this up real quick because they said most people, Kami Mommy said that most people write books in character. What I'm trying to say is, the Grease Man. There probably is an interesting book about the Grease Man's Doug Track, the Grease Man's life, but he decided to write a book about the Grease Man's life, which is a fake character. And it's the same thing with Imus. You know, there is probably a book somewhere that Imus could have written that would have been somewhat interesting, even if he was a fucking liar. But
absolutely.
Even if most of the book would be a total, complete, stupid lie, it would still be something. Like Howard Stern's books, I don't read them as like primary sources or anything like that. I know that they're told from his point of view. They're great. His books. I mean, if you want to read a shock jock book, it would be Private Parts of Miss America. I would not read Anthony Cumia's book. It sucks. And Mancow's book is truly one of the worst things I've ever read in my life. Like, it is just it's monstrous that somebody published that. He's another guy. He wrote it in character as Mancow, but he also pretends to have a dwarf on his adventures with him around the country. And just there's the lies in that book are incredible. There's some really, when he said the key to the city, he went over somewhere and they gave him like the key to the city and all that stuff, and it was like it's just such lies. You know, if to people that are just getting into Shocktober this year, this is season 4, and there are also one-offs. And you know what? I think I'm relatively certain there's going to be a Shocktober stream once a month. Like,
that'd be so good. I'm like still pumped for
Chris, it. Yeah, me and Chris are talking about maybe that would be a fun thing to do, to show video content. You know, we'll do the video stuff.
I want to tell like a quick little story. Is that my neighbor, their neighbor, works for Capitol Records, right? So they had the Mancow CD, like that they gave them to him as like the promo copy, alongside like Radiohead, the Bends. So like, dude, I was listening to like Radiohead, the Bends, and then the Mancow CD, and that had the prank call where they're driving the car into the wall, and I was like, this is like truly, this is so bad.
It's so funny. That thing to me is like, I waffle back and forth. Like, are there people that really believed that Turd drove his car into the side of a building? Like, I don't think so, because it's
definitely not.
That it's sound effects, right? But
yeah.
Like, were there people that were maybe on the job site and was only hearing like in and out while they were like running a saw or a jackhammer that believed it? Possibly. But
they heard it one time and they were like, oh fuck, like this is, dude, Turd's dead. Like they heard it one time and they were like, Turd's dead, he is gone.
Yeah. And Kami Mommy's listening to the Howard Stern 9/11 show. Yeah, that's nuts. When the first plane hits, they're like, oh, a plane just hit. And, I mean, all the callers are racist. Howard is extremely awful at that time. Like, just not, but nobody was dealing with any of that stuff with sensitivity. That doesn't.
Well, he was doing
that
this
doesn't stop
inane
him.
Pamela Anderson thing, which
Yes!
is really weird.
It's so weird. The plane hits, and then he's talking about Pam Anderson, about how Stuttering John is like, do you think you could date Pam Anderson? And then, you know, they're talking about that. Then the other plane hits, and it's really crazy. I mean, my dream really is to get my hand on all the 9/11 episodes. I can't find Bubba the Love Sponge.
Yeah.
His 9/11 episode. I can't find Mancow's 9/11 episode. I'm sure Mancow handled it just really great. He
With
probably
class.
thought it was a bit. Actually,
Yeah,
I
I
have
wanted
heard
to,
a part of when the planes hit, and Mancow was like, "This is not a radio bit," which I guess you kind of have to say that.
So, Brian, I went to school for radio broadcasting in Massachusetts. So, one of the guys I went to school with, he actually interned for Stern, and he did it for one day because because he was living in Boston. He couldn't travel all the time, but like he did it for one day, and that blew my mind because he claimed to have gotten a joke on the air. And we're talking 2004, very long time ago. But, you know, I was like so jealous of him because he actually did intern for them, but he couldn't like maintain the internship. But that was like the greatest thing I'd ever heard in my entire life because that was my dream, to be an intern on Howard Stern. My God.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously my whole career ambitions, like when, and I've said this before about when I started Street Fight, my plan was when we started Street Fight, my plan was what we're going to do is we're going to put on a good show. We're going to make a tape, and we're going to send, not a tape, but, you know, a file, and send it to radio stations in town and see if we can get picked up on an FM radio station in town, because I just couldn't imagine making a living any other way. And or I couldn't imagine making moving or any, like, that I wasn't going to be, like, the goal was to get on the radio back in 2011. Obviously very glad that didn't happen, because I think I'm.
Did you ever do like college radio or any like low frequency stuff?
Well, we're on a low we used to be. I don't think we are now, since I ended up taking over the show. It's not something I ever pay attention to, but we've been on a low frequency. It just, for me, it was like the hope was that like random people would see us or hear us on the radio and call us, and it just didn't bear out that way. It just didn't happen. It's usually people who are listening online. So for me, it's like, I think Brett liked being on the radio. And for me, it just, once I took over, it's just sort of like, I don't care that much about being on the radio.
Well, dude, when I was doing college radio, which I did for, 6 years, dude, like the management aspect of it was the worst. It was horrible. And I know you like to poke fun at like shock jocks, like complaining about management. Dude, that shit is real. Like, dude, it is horrible to have people telling you what to say.
Yeah. I think it's the reason I laugh about, I poke fun at him talking to management, is because I just listened to Stern today, and he said, Tom won't let me have a woman shoot a banana out of her pussy. And he's like really mad about it. And I'm like, well, I mean, I get it. I never liked the naked lady stuff anyway. It just I didn't get anything out of that. I'm not going to pull over on the side of the road and jerk off or whatever.
Start jacking it.
Into it. Yeah, people would call in and be like, I'm pulling over on the side of the road and beating off. And it's like, I mean, what is the fucking impulse to do that?
I would hear that, and I'd be like, my dad's driving me to school right now. Like, okay, we're all going to start jacking off?
People don't understand Kami Mommy says, I love hearing naked women on the radio. I mean, I assume there was an audience for that, but everybody I've talked to now has said they hated it. So I don't know who the audience for that was, but I think with Stern, it was just a TV show. And honestly, these guys probably just are excited I'm naked women around. They're not doing it for us. You know?
Well, I think
that's when they're doing themselves.
What wasn't like you talked about how like Private Parts, the book, was like pretty important to you. Like that was pretty titillating, right?
I love that book. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and so was Miss America. Miss America was very titillating as well.
Well, that's what hit me real hard, and that's why that's why it's such an influence for me. Hold on a second. That's why it's such an influence. I mean, I had to shut the window because my neighbors are out there chatting it up.
I read Private Parts when I was in 6th grade.
I read it in 10th.
Pretty okay.
I read it in 10th grade, and I read Miss America first, and then Private Parts after.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you read it in reverse. Good for you.
Yeah, Miss America was I saw it at the library as a new release. I had in-school suspension, and I needed something to do, and I wasn't going to do homework. So I had my dad take me and get me a book. And so I got Miss America because, I don't know, it had Howard and Drag on the front. I don't actually know what made me want the book, but I got it. And in the first chapter, he's talking about like jerking off, and it blew.
He's talking about like web. He's talking about like internet chat rooms.
Yes, it blew my fucking mind.
Chat room sex,
because, you know. Yeah, and it blew my fucking mind because like when at that time in my life, at where I'm from, I don't know. Other people have said it wasn't like that where they're from, but you basically have to hide that you jerk off. Like you would never want somebody to know that it's something that you do, which is so weird because everybody's doing it, you know. But like they wanted you, my friends would make fun of you if they heard you jerked off. One of the things they would say as an insult to you is like, I'll bet you jerked off. You know what I mean? Or I'll bet you jerk off. You know, we were watching porno one time and I was like, I got to run home. Obviously I was running home to jerk off, but they started, I told them I have to take a shit, and I don't have to jerk off. I have to take a shit. But obviously that was a lie. And they all made fun of me for that. And I'm like, motherfucker, all of you are going to beat off to this later. I left the room at least. But reading Stern say that he did it, I'd never heard somebody admit to it in my entire life. And it was just this really mind-blowing thing for me. And it really, really removed a lot of guilt from that kind of stuff. Yeah. Well, it was just the guilt that I had reading this adult say that he doesn't have that guilt. I couldn't believe it, you know?
When I started listening to Stern was, so like living in Boston, South Boston, they broadcast Stern at night on this radio station called WBCN. So like at night, it was for like 6 months, and they started doing it in the morning. And when I first heard it, I was like blown away, and I would record every episode on a mini disc player, and then would listen to it when I got home from school. And my parents were like, so they thought they wanted to take me to therapy because I was so obsessed with Howard Stern. And when Private Parts, the movie, was being filmed and came out, they were like, dude, like they told me like, you're obsessed, and they're like, you can't. They cut off all my Howard Stern stuff. Like they were like, dude, you cannot. It's no more of Howard Stern. And then I didn't see Private Parts for after a year after it came out.
Yeah, for me it was like my dad hated the fact that I liked Stern, but my dad also hated the fact that I like rap. My dad also still hates the fact that I like country music, and like he just thinks it's such a white trash thing to be into. I don't understand that at all. But like at the time, he would just, you know, they truly didn't really stop us from doing anything. They wouldn't be okay with shit, but they didn't stop us either. So he sort of just let me get into it. I didn't record it though. It was just one of those things, like I'd get up, I'd listen while I was getting ready in the morning, and you know, I would try to talk my friends into turning it on in the car.
Oh,
But,
they hated it. My friends hated it so much. Them friends did not like it. They were like, dude, this is so stupid.
Yeah, it's talk. It's guys talking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and like there'd be like a cool thing that would happen. Remember when like the Foo Fighters were on? They did that My Hero version that was like super popular.
Yes, I do.
Like I would be like, dude, this is really good. I'd tell my like friends to listen. They'd be like, this stinks, dog.
Yeah. I mean, I bet you they ended up liking it when they got older. Like,
yeah,
they all end up liking
because
it
every radio station picked it up. Yeah. But
hey,
can
also,
I give you like my?
No, go ahead. Because I'll say it after we.
I was going to say that
it's not.
So like I got into O&A probably right as soon as they were on AAF, so like I kind of listened, and they'd have like naked girls in the studio. But then when they got syndicated to like BCN, I was like, oh, okay, like these guys are pretty funny. And I like, just like you, I thought like Anthony Cumia was the funniest guy ever, and I thought that like Greg Opie Hughes was like the best ship captain of all time. And as soon as they were on, they were like kicked off.
Yeah,
but
that
I did go to, and you know, when you guys did your O&A Shocktober, you talked about how Opie was at the first live show back in Boston, and he was like gonna jump across the counter. I was at that show, and it was nonviolent completely.
Yeah,
that was the first thing that made me want to call into you, was like hearing you talk about these like live events, and I was like, yeah, I was there, dude. Like it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, they see. I think what I meant by the live events is like when you were listening on the radio. I think maybe they had a good idea of what they were doing. I want to Labor Kyle in the chat says my super Protestant dad hated Bubba. I mean, that's not really fair. Bubba has said that he's an atheist, and I think, but like well, yeah, Bubba was insanely offensive. I was gonna say he's not super offensive, but he is actually.
I never heard of Bubba until he went. I never heard of Bubba until he went to Stern. Never heard of him until he went to Stern.
He was on here. I was very young, and my brother had it on the radio one night, QFM 96, and it was Friday, and he was doing Fat Philly Friday, and it that blew my mind. That's the first time I'd ever heard somebody do weed humor. So. Wow. I was just like, what the hell? This guy's on the radio. He's allowed to just talk about getting high. He also did No Panties Thursday. Like, I ended up getting getting into him for the short amount of time he was here, but then, you know, became a partisan, obviously, later on.
I thought that the Manson interview was so good. That Manson interview?
It's fucking
my God,
so funny.
That was so good.
I'm going to get Bubba, I think. I think we're talking about doing our first live show in Tampa because we think it's goofy, and try to get Bubba to come on the show. I said I'll pay him $1,000 and he'll do it, and we'll have him on stage, and it'll probably be wild. So I mean, yeah, we're gonna do live shows next year, 100%. There will be live shows. We just want to do the first one. I think it'll be the Shocktober wrap-up show, but done live in Tampa.
I want to say that Chris is so funny. Chris is so funny. Dude. You guys are just. I'm like, you guys kind of fill that space for me, where I like used to enjoy these shock jocks, and then to hear you guys kind of ripping on them, like, oh, this is like a throwback to it. It's like such a comfortable feeling to hear you guys talk about them.
That was the goal, was to sort of make it a throwback show. I was going to actually have soundboards and stuff when I originally started, and the thing that the opening was me. I said I wanted something that sounded like a shock jock was coming in. I was gonna take phone calls and fuck around, but I do think that, like, when me and Chris are gonna start, I think we're gonna start doing a lot more stuff, and especially now. I mean, if somebody is gonna co-host this show, it's gonna be him. And it's kind of,
well, I think that, like, in the current, like, climate of, like, radio, it's crazy that, like, a guy like Ron Bennington is sort of like the voice of reason. I think that's so crazy. And I also think he's like the funniest guy on the planet.
He's the greatest.
And I know you guys think that as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm online pretty hard, and people rip on that show so bad, and they rip on his kid. And I'm like, dude, he is like the last surviving member of this that, you know, we all hate Opie. We all hate Anthony. Like, no one likes Howard Stern. It's like people still like Ron Bennington.
He's great. He is great. Everybody, you know, he's one to listen to. And also, yes, if the show, before we go, because I'm off the clock now.
Yeah.
The show is, when this show changes on November 13th, I have like a few ideas. And one of the ideas that I'm going to do that is more visual, and obviously you'll be able to listen to it as a podcast too. And I don't think it's going to hurt the enjoyment of the podcast to listen to it, is that I am going to have people come in the room, and basically I'm just going to pick the first person who tells me their local radio station, and we're going to bring the website up and goof on it. And I'm going to, you know, take calls, and me and the callers will goof on it, and maybe even talk to the person. So I'm adding some of that stuff to the main show too. I think I want to add like little things like that to the main show.
Well, Brian, thanks for having me on for like the last call. Can I plug my podcast?
Yep.
It's called Want to Chat, and it's WANT, the number 2, and then CHAT, and it's a relationship podcast. And, you know, dude, I've been like a super, you know, Imus through Stern, through O&A, and then, you know, Ron and Fez. Like, dude, I'm like a talk show junkie, radio talk show junkie. But dude, I love everything you do. And, you know, it's a dying art form that it was probably going to die out soon. Like, dude, it's like the death rattle at this point.
Yeah.
But
sure. You're not gonna,
I want to say, I want to say what.
No, go ahead. I was going to say something inane.
Okay. For the POD cast, you got to do the private part soundtrack. Why haven't you done that yet?
Because we haven't picked the episode for the bonus episodes.
Oh,
yet,
okay.
Because people pay $50 and they get to pick. So we never get to pick. But, you know, that's something I'll keep in the back of my mind too.
Okay.
But yeah. Well, thanks for calling. It was good to talk to you. Call back anytime.
Thank you, Brian.
And again, I'm going to make some kind of call-in version of Shocktober. So we will make something
Talk
happen.
to everybody.
Buddy.
Bye-bye.
I just said that like Adam Sandler. I also wanted to just say, before I go, one of the other places that one of the other cities that I really like to be in was Boston and Portland, Maine. Both of those places were incredible. So I didn't want to forget about those places. Obviously, you want to go to Boston when it's warm, though, because you shouldn't have to deal with cold. Well, thank you for calling in to the callers. Thank you to the people in the chat for talking to me through the show. I am going to go lay down. We are going to have Karen Geyer as my co-host this week on the Basement Show. And then this Friday, Shocktober, Bob and Tom with Mike Hale from Your Kickstarter Sucks. I needed somebody who would hate the corny stuff, and I got them. I got Mike and Chris. So thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great night. Bye-bye. I just stole